know, for I wanted more assurance of it. Maidens are such wondrous things. Not a bit of it, said Annie, casting her eyes downwards. Love is as simple as milking, when people know how to do it. But you must not let her alone too long. That is my advice to you. What a simpleton you must have been not to tell me long ago. It would have made Lorna wild about you, long before this time, Johnny. But now you go into the parlor, dear, while I do your call-up. Faith Snow is not come, but Polly and Sally. Sally has made up her mind to conquer you this very blessed evening, John. Only look what a thing of a scarf she has on. I should be quite ashamed to wear it. But you won't strike poor Tom, will you? Not I, my darling, for your sweet sake. And so dear Annie, having grown quite brave, gave me a little push into the parlor, where I was quite abashed to enter after all I had heard about Sally, and I made up my mind to examine her well, and to try a little courting with her, if she should lead me on, that I may be in practice for Lorna. But when I perceived how grandly and richly both the young damsels were apparelled, and how in their curtsies to me they retreated, as if I were making it up to them, in a way they had learned from Exeter, and how they began to talk of the court, as if they had been there all their lives, and the latest mode of the Duchess of this, and the profile of the Countess of that, and the last good saying of my Lord something, instead of butter, and cream, and eggs, and things which they understood. I knew there must be somebody in the room besides Jasper Kebby to talk at. And so there was, for behind the curtain drawn across the window seat, no less a man than Uncle Ben was sitting half asleep and weary, and by his side a little girl, very quiet and very watchful. My mother led me to Uncle Ben, and he took my hand without rising, muttering something not over polite about my being bigger than ever. I asked him heartily how he was, and he said, well enough for that matter, but none the better for the noise you great clods have been making. I am sorry that we have disturbed you, sir, I answered civilly, but I knew not that you were here even, and you must allow for harvest time. So it seems, he replied, and allow a great deal, including waste and drunkenness. Now, if you can see so small a thing after it emptying flagons much longer. This is my granddaughter, and my Harris. Here he glanced at my mother. My Harris, little Ruth Huckaback. I am very glad to see you, Ruth, I answered, offering my hand, which she seemed afraid to take. Welcome to Plower's Barrows, my good cousin Ruth. However, my good cousin Ruth only arose and made me a curtsy, and lifted her great brown eyes at me, more in fears, I thought, than kinship. And if ever any one looked unlike the Harris to great property, it was the little girl before me. Come out to the kitchen, dear, and let me chuck you to the ceiling, I said, just to encourage her. I always do it to little girls, and then they can see the hams and bacon. But Uncle Reuben burst out laughing, and Ruth turned away with a deep, rich color. Do you know how old she is, you numbskull? Said Uncle Ben in his driest drawl. She was 17 last July, sir. On the 1st of July, grandfather, Ruth whispered, with her back still to me, but many people will not believe it. Here mother came up to my rescue, as she always loved to do, and she said, if my son may not dance Miss Ruth, at any rate he may dance with her. We have only been waiting for you, dear John, to have a little harvest dance, with the kitchen door thrown open. You take Ruth, Uncle Ben takes Sally, Master Debby pair off with Polly, and neighbor Nicholas will be good enough, if I can awake him, to stand up with fair Mistress Kebby. Lizzie will play us the virginal, won't you, Lizzie dear?" "But who is to dance with you, madam?" Uncle Ben asked, very politely. "I think you must rearrange your figure. I have not danced for a score of years, and I will not dance now, while the mistress and the owner of the harvest sits aside neglected." "Nay, Master Huckleback," cried Sally Snow, with a saucy toss of her hair, "Mistress Ridd is too kind a great deal, in handing you over to me. You take her, and I will fetch Annie to be my partner this evening. I like dancing very much better with girls, for they never squeeze and rumple one. Oh, it is so much nicer." "Have no fear for me, my dears," my mother answered, smiling. "Parson Bowden promised to come back again. I expect him every minute, and he intends to lead me off, and to bring a partner for Annie too, a very pretty young gentleman. Now begin, and I will join you." There was no disobeying her without rudeness, and indeed the girls' feet were already jiggling, and Lizzie giving herself wonderful airs with a roll of learned music, and even while Annie was doing my collop, her pretty round instep was arching itself, as I could see from the parlor door. So I took little Ruth, and I spun her around, as the sound of the music came lively and ringing, and after us came all the rest with much laughter, begging me not to jump over her, and anon my grave partner began to smile sweetly, and look up at me with the brightest of eyes, and drop me the prettiest curtsy, till I thought what a great stoop I must have been to dream of putting her in the cheese rack. But one thing I could not at all understand, why mother, who used to do all in her power to throw me across Sally Snow, should now do the very opposite. For she would not allow me one moment with Sally, not even to cross in the dance, or whisper, or go anywhere near a corner, which as I said I intended to do, just by way of practice, while she kept me at all the evening as close as possible to Ruth Huckleback, and came up and praised me so to Ruth times and again, that I declare I was quite ashamed, although of course I knew that I deserved it all, but I could not well say that. Then Annie came sailing down the dance, with her beautiful hair flowing around her, the lightest figure in all the room, and the sweetest and the loveliest. She was blushing, with her fair cheeks red beneath her dear blue eyes, as she met my glance of surprise and grief at the partner she was leaning on. It was Squire Marwood de Whichersall. I would sooner have seen her with Tom Faggus, as indeed I had expected, when I heard of Parson Bowden. And to me it seemed that she had no right to be dancing so with any other, and to this effect I contrived to whisper, but she only said, "See to yourself, John." "No, but let us both enjoy ourselves. You are not dancing with Lorna, John, but you seem uncommonly happy." "Tush," I said, "could I flip about so, if I had my love with me?" End of chapter 30. Recording by Daisy 55.